This week we are going to continue with our fall and autumn drawings, because it is still fall autumn season, and the fall and autumn season doesn't end until December 21st, so you only have just a couple of days in there where it is actually winter time before actual Christmas hits. So for this week, mainly, possibly the next, I'm not sure, we'll continue with our fall projects and then move on into December. So this week we're just going to, with using lines and shapes, just as we've been doing in the past. So it's much like review. We're going to draw a pumpkin. And mine is going to be a sad pumpkin because, you know, it's the fall season is winding down. It's getting close to the end. And like the last days of November and right before Christmas, and my pumpkin's going to be sad because he's thinking to himself, well, I'm in this field and I never got picked, and he's thinking to himself, well, a lot of people are going to be taking their pumpkins down and putting up their Christmas decorations for December, if you participate in Christmas. And so mine's gonna be sad. You can put whatever. Yours can have a smiley face. You can get creative and put a smiley face on yours with some eyes that aren't so droopy, and without the tear. He can be just as happy as he can be because he didn't get picked. He didn't get turned into a pumpkin pie. Who knows? But we'll go ahead and start our drawing. And before we start our drawing, you should have already watched a video, especially if we're in a live meet. Should have already watched the video with all the information about a pumpkin's ribs and its seeds and its vines and everything. Just everything there is, pretty much everything there is to know about a pumpkin. And there's actually two of those videos, but one's a read aloud book, one's an informational video. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start with using our shapes first. And we're going to draw a oval. One more thing. Make sure your paper is turned landscape, which is this way, not portrait style. You're going to make sure you turn it back to landscape and draw your pumpkin. Now, you're going to draw an oval, a really big oval in the center of your paper. So we're going to draw, bring it on around, make it an oval shape, and bring that oval back on up and around until it meets up with where you started at. And then you are going to make it easier for your next two lines, you're going to draw your stem on the top, which is kind of like a rectangle shape, but you're going to curve it in just a little and back out. And then on the other side of the top of that oval, bring it up, curving it in a little, and then back out slightly. And then just slightly close off the top. Now, we can add our lines that are kind of like C shapes for the outside of our pumpkin. And we're going to start it from where the bottom of the stem, the top of that oval. Bring it out and around like a C shape. Down towards the bottom of the pumpkin, curving it around and connect it to the bottom side of that oval. You're going to do the same thing on this side, but draw a backwards C shape, bringing it out and around, curving it on, out and around and down. And then curve it back into the bottom of the oval. And this gives us each section gives us the lines gives us our ribs of the pumpkin, which you would have learned about in the video. And then next we're going to draw the face on our pumpkin. And like I said, you can inside, you're just going to basically take 2 circles for your eyes. And you can draw, instead of putting this line here where his eyes are drooping, if you don't want a sad pumpkin and you want him to be happy about not getting picked because he didn't get turned into a pumpkin pie or anything like that, you could just leave that line out and just give him a big pupil. And then we're going to do, for a sad one, we're going to do an upside down, a U shape under that smile shape for his eyelid. And then bring another like half circle inside of there. That's for his pupil. And then we would color this part in. You could color it in with black or brown. That is entirely up to you. And our next circle. With our smile shape for his eyelid, if that's the eye you're going with, the U shape, and then the half circle to leave it white for the pupil. Now here, because this is the sad pumpkin, I'm going to add a teardrop. So just bring a line down, curve it around, and bring it back up to a point. So it needs to be pointy at the top and round at the bottom. Then we're going to add a frowny face line. So just upside down curve. And then another upside down curve, but not as big, so that it gives his mouth more depth and makes it thicker. And I just colored the inside of his mouth in, and that can be brown, black, whatever color you want it to be. Now, as we have went over several times in the past, you're going to want to give your pumpkin a horizon line. And our horizon line separates the ground from the sky, or the foreground from the background. It does the same thing. It's the foreground or the ground or the background or the sky. And here we're going to bring a vine down, so you're going to need to leave just a little bit of space there. You may want to leave enough space to where you can bring that horizon line in a little bit more later if you need to. Because we're going to draw some very thin vines, because pumpkins do grow on a vine. And they're usually kind of thin vines to grow such big, massive pumpkins. So first we're going to take and bring a line out from the side, like it's coming from the back of our pumpkin. And bring that vine down. A line for it down. And keeping it really close because these vines are really skinny and thin. We're going to bring another line down and curve it around. And depending on the size of your paper, I'm going to run my leaf off. So you may want to draw your leaf a little bigger. So it can run off the paper. And then just kind of bend this one back up. Bring a line up, curving it around. You can leave it kind of at a point if you want to, or make it rounded off. And then really skinny in there, just leave a little bit of space. Curve it back around and back up, back down. And bring it back up again. And curve it back up to a point, kind of. Curve it back down, back out and up. And like I said, this one's going to run off the page. If you need to, you can just keep on coming out and like curve yours around right here. And then that little line to separate, to let us know that those have separate. This is like a little place there to make it look more like a leaf. And then the veins in your leaf. Those little lines to give it detail. That's your veins inside of your leaf. Now, that's what carries water throughout your leaf. That's the reason why they call it veins. So, turning my paper to make it easier, we're going to draw some loopy-loop lines. And loopy-loop lines are where you see right here where it curls. So, I'm going to do some kind of wavy lines to curve it on out. Bringing it out from the stem part. And just bring a line. Now you're going to take and loop it around for that loopy-loop. And just a curvy line, as curvy as you want it, and as many loopy-loops as you want. And I'm gonna loop it around again and bring it to a point to stop at. And to get a really thin vine line in there, so you can color it in, you're going to keep it really close and just follow this line, this first line that you had, and go back, following that line and loop it around and curve it on around, just keep following along with that line, but keeping it close because, like I said, these vines are skinny. And bring it back in. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side of the stem. I'm going to take a line, curving it around, and looping it around, and make it as curvy as you want it. Get to a place and loop it. Now, same thing, follow back. Once you get to a stopping point and you're finished looping lines, you're going to follow along that same line, going back with it. And loop it where your loop was at. And curve it back into your pumpkin. And there you have your drawing of your pumpkin that is still left in the field. And you're going to want to make sure you color in the whole entire background. So, color in your ground, color in your sky, the whole entire thing. And this is almost going to be like we're fixing to fast forward this. You're going to color in your eyebrow, or if you did a sad face, color in that, not eyebrow, but, you could even put eyelashes if you wanted to make yours a girl, if you didn't do a sad face. Make sure you color in your pumpkin, and make sure you color in both of your vines and your leaf. And for the eyeballs and the teardrop, if you did a frowny face, color in that teardrop blue. And fast forward to everything being colored, and there we have our pumpkin for the last part of fall.